This video, we're going to be talking about my buddy Shay's truck. For you guys that watch the channel, you're familiar with this truck as far as the truck itself goes. But I figured I'd do just a quick little rundown on the truck itself and kind of just maybe the origin story of it a bit, why we're fixing it, why we're doing all this stuff to it. I figured I'd just do a little rundown on it because I've had a couple people ask about it, so I figured I might as well. So, my buddy Shay, who I've known since high school, we went to high school together, and I moved out here. He moved out here right after, I think, or did he move out here before I did? I can't remember. But pretty close with each other anyway. And I didn't even know he was out here for quite a few years, actually, funny enough. You know, like after I knew he was out here, we started hanging out and all that type of jazz. But Shay bought this truck. I want to say it was like 2013, 14, I think. I could be wrong on the years, but roughly something like that. And this was a W150, so it was a half-ton four-wheel drive gasser, had a 318 in it. And originally, the 318 Scattergasguard, the original one in it, I don't know. I think he drove for a few weeks in it, Scattergasguard. He put another engine in it, and that one blew up almost like right away. Obviously, there was something wrong with it. We don't know. We're assuming it was lifter problems or something. I had nothing to do with that part of it. We hadn't really started hanging out much at that point. But then he came by with the truck not running right, wanted to know if I could take a look at it. I took a look at it, said to him, well, it sounds like she's done. So he ended up leaving the truck. I gave him an old minivan that I had, or it was an Astro van actually. And he drove that for a while until he could come up with the extra money to, or, you know, have the extra money. I shouldn't say come up with it, but to have the extra money. And I sold him actually this engine, not a rebuilt one, but this engine and the get rag behind it. And we converted this truck to a diesel. Now it still was a gasser or a half ton at that point. So it was still four-wheel drive, half ton at that point. He drove the truck for quite a few years like that, front end, rear end, no issues. Now he doesn't tow with it or put crazy heavy weight in it. And then the rear end, I think, let go. Yeah, the rear end. We had another set of diffs. We swapped those in there. I got them from a truck that I did a bunch of work on. And we swapped those in there. He drove it for a little while longer. And he did do like a bit of a body job on the truck when he first started driving it, but that was quite a few years ago. As you can see, the paint needs to be redone again. But he did it in his house garage. It actually looked, honestly, guys, it looked really nice. I think it looked really nice for what it was. He did a pretty good job working out of his garage. And now to basically about a year ago or so, the truck was having issues. It wasn't running right. The tranny was having issues. The clutch was having issues. The truck was just having issues. And the front diff or the rear diff, anyways, one of them had play. It was just, it was time that it needed to be gone through. So he had bought another car to drive, so he wasn't driving the truck anymore. And I had a bunch of parts laying around. So all the parts that you see for the most part is stuff that I had laying around, other than a few things. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so the truck started, like I said, the truck started out as a half-ton four-wheel drive gasser. I think it's an 85 or an 86 Prospector. So for the year of the truck, it was pretty decent. But now it is basically, other than it doesn't have a 3/4 ton frame in it, but for what he's using the truck for, that isn't going to matter. But we put a set of front and rear diff out of a first gen. They're out of an 89. You can tell, I don't know if the 90s had this, but I know the 89s did. That hub is like a bolt-on style hub. It's a little different, which are a little weaker than the Warren style, I call them, the newer style ones. But for what he's using it for, it'll be absolutely fine. We put those diffs in it. The diff swap is basically just swap it in there. We put all new Bilstein shocks on it, painted up stuff. You know, it didn't go super crazy. We still need to go through, which there's going to be a bunch of videos coming on, but going through the front end, rechecking everything, like the bearings and the brakes and all that stuff. We're going to do the same thing with the rear. Now, we completely rebuilt the engine in it. So it was a non-intercooled originally. That head was cracked. I know, shocking. Most of the non-intercooleds are cracked, if you guys didn't know that. But this was a head that I had. We went through it, put 60-pound valve springs in it. It's got new pistons, just the stock style piston for an intercooled. It doesn't have big injectors or any of that type of stuff in it yet. We will be monkeying with that, but right now it just has stock flow injectors, ones that I had made, and then just a stock VE pump with a a spring and pin and a little bit of monkeying done with it. Nothing special as far as that goes. And it has an HX35 on it. The reason that we did not paint that is not staying on there. That's going to be on there for some testing purposes, and then that will be coming off, and a couple new turbochargers will be going on there. What else did we do? Oh, we put this rad in there. You guys would have seen that all. This is just a universal rad for, I don't know, like a big block Chevy or of some sorts. Then we just made up the mounts. Intercooler is out of a second gen, but we had to adapt it so that it, lined up. Now, transmission. It's got a 47 RE in it for a transmission. Built input shaft. Nothing super crazy, but Carl, my buddy Carl, the transmission guy, he helped me out with it, and we put a clutch or a kit in it that I had and did some finagling things in there, and it is a full manual valve body. Because he wanted something to do. He likes the standard, but he wanted an automatic, just they're faster, let's be honest. So we did that. It's got a ratchet shifter in there. I'll show you. I can't get the doors open right now, but we'll show you later. And then obviously we put this Hydro Boost on, which is off at 2006. Really easy to put on. You have to drill, in this cab, you have to drill one extra hole, which you see we have not actually drilled yet, if you can see that. Put a set of adapters on for your lines, and then obviously rig up your actual Hydro Boost lines. But the truck overall isn't in that bad a shape. It needs some fixing, but it's more than savable as far as that goes. But I don't know. We're gonna fix it up to the point where it's presentable again. He can drive it, and then I think down the road the old girl's gonna get a body makeover. I think is what's gonna happen with it, or at least that's kind of the idea right now. So, and he's gonna get some rims and tires for it. He hasn't decided on the rims and tires yet. And then obviously, cosmetically, we'll put a windshield and that type of stuff in it. That's not too big of a deal to do. But the big reason on a lot of it, he wanted to keep the truck. He really likes the truck, and I don't blame him. I really like these trucks too. And it's worth fixing. It's worth saving, I should say, in my opinion. Like, the truck's not in that bad a shape. And a lot of this stuff I had laying around. So you got to remember, I'm a bit of a hoarder. At least that's what my wife says anyway. The diffs I had laying around, they were in my diff pile. The transmission, we did have to buy one transmission for a core, so transmission I had most of it. Like I had a converter. The transfer case is the one that was in the truck. And then obviously engine stuff. A lot of the engine stuff I had, like the pistons were basically brand new, but they were from an engine that I had put together and then decided to change the pistons in. So we used those pistons. The cylinder head was a good used one that I had that was on one of my trucks. When I switched it over and did a ported head on that truck, the injectors actually were in my truck for a little while. The intercooler was a used one. The rad he bought brand new. And then obviously we did buy a bunch of new stuff, but like the Hydro Boost was one that I got from somewhere. I bought it somewhere, but I know I bought it cheaper. I wouldn't have even bought it. So it was just like a lot of the parts that we had, like I had laying around, right? So it was just one of those things where, at a certain point, I'm looking at all this stuff that I have. Like realistically, if I was building this truck for myself, I wouldn't use these diffs. So why am I keeping them kicking around? I might as well help my buddy out, give him a good deal on them, and he can have them. Same with the 12 valve. Like I'm kind of to the point myself for the 12 valve side of things. I honestly don't know how many more 12 valves for myself I'm going to build. I will build some, I'm sure, but, and do some stuff. But I don't know how many I'm going to build for myself. And so a lot of the parts that I have now, I'm kind of putting together and starting to sell some stuff off and that type of stuff. Just because I like the more exotic things, kind of like the engine that's in that thing. The P-Pump 6.7, right? And then I am going to go to do some common rail stuff. So there will be common rail stuff on the channel at some point, working our way through that. And another thing too, I wanted to do a bunch of testing. So I needed a VE truck to do a bunch of testing on. And I was going to buy a truck. I even found a truck. And then I got thinking about it. So it's like, man, if I buy a truck, then I got to do a tranny. Then I got to do this. Then I got to do that. Why am I spending more money that I don't really want to spend, right? So it's just is what it is. So I figured might as well help my buddy out. We'll do a bunch of stuff on his truck, and then he'll have a cool truck. So, and we did do a new 4-inch turbo back exhaust too. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. But like I said, it's just one of those things. I think the truck was worth fixing. We actually have brand new fenders for it right there, actually. We're not gonna put them on for now until we're done doing dynoing and all that stuff. Because, you know, I want to change the turbocharger. It's a whole lot easier just to stand here and do this, right? But that's kind of the idea. You know, that's why we're spending money to fix the truck. He likes the truck. I had a bunch of parts, and why not? You know, we're both in the position to be able to do that. Why aren't we doing that? Talking more about VE stuff, just for a quick second for you guys that are still watching, is these turbos, I'm not going to unbag them, but these are the 2 turbos we're going to use for primaries for that VE engine that's right there. So, yeah. Wait for later videos talking about those if you're interested in that stuff. Hopefully you guys liked the video. You know, like I said, I had a few guys ask about why we were doing this to his truck. Oh, actually, that's something else that I didn't mention. Was this front rad support is out of an older truck, so it's a double headlight, so an older style tin grill. We're gonna have to do a little finagling to get the fenders to fit, but I think it'll be cool when we get it all done. But just thought I would mention that. It's kind of it's different, right? All right, you know what to do. Check out this video, and we'll catch you on the next one.